Hi, this is Dmitry, and today I wanted to talk about the newly announced, or not actually announced but more like leaked, Fuji X-H1 that was leaked by Fujirumors and a couple of other sites. This new camera is going to be announced on February the 15th next week, but we got the full specifications list and photographs of the camera today, so let's go over them and discuss this camera. Okay, so first let's talk about the ergonomics and the body. The body obviously looks different from the previous Fuji cameras. It's a larger body, it's a weatherproof body, it finally has a pronounced grip which you can handle with ease without necessity of adding additional grips. Like the T series had the small grip, the large grip. This one has a grip which is big enough for most people to hold. And obviously there is a removal of exposure compensation dial, which is somewhat controversial in its replacement with the top display. I like the top display. I'm kind of used to top display from my DSLR days. And I don't mind the top display. I like to look at the top display. I can live without it, but it's nice to have, especially if you're shooting from a lower position and you look down, and it's nice to see the specs on the top display. I kind of like it. Do I like the exposure compensation dial on my cameras? I do like it. Can I live without it? Yeah, I can deal with no exposure compensation dial. I have cameras like I have an Olympus EM1 Mark II that doesn't have it, and DSLRs obviously for the most part don't have it. You just basically use one of the dials and roll the dial, and this is something that you can get used to. I don't think it's a deal breaker, at least for me, the fact that there is no exposure compensation dial. It's nice to have, but it's not a deal breaker. Okay, the next thing I wanted to talk about is the battery. Even though the Fuji new grip is larger, and I was kind of hoping that they would include a larger battery in this camera, or the battery from a G, or some larger battery, because the flagmans on the other brands, such as Sony and Olympus, all put larger, newer, larger capacity batteries in their mirrorless cameras, making them so that you can take pretty much as much shots as you can with DSLR now. On the Sony A9 or A7R3, the battery can go for 1,000 shots or more. Even on Olympus EM1 Mark II, they say 400, 450 shots, but I get more. Fuji decided to stay with the same battery which they started with in XE1, and never changed it in terms of capacity of the battery. My only hope is that I did see with the XA5 somehow Fuji was able to increase the amount of shots you can take on the same capacity battery. Perhaps with XH1 they could do the same magic, and you can have more shots per battery. Although with IBIS, the image stabilization thing, I doubt that would be the case, because that in itself drains some power from the camera. So I did hope for a larger capacity battery, and that didn't happen. Now let's talk about the IBIS. Finally, Fuji, despite the managers at one point saying that Fuji cameras are incompatible with IBIS, they included IBIS in this camera, which is great for numerous Fuji and third-party lenses that do not have built-in IBIS. This is great for 1655, 2.8, and even for primes. I welcome that feature. I like that feature. I have it in some of my other cameras, and it's brilliant. And I love the fact that X-H1 included that feature in this new camera. Let's talk about the autofocus on the Fuji X-H1. The autofocus on latest Fuji cameras is terrific as it is. Fuji claims that with X-H1 they made it even better, which is terrific. I'm very happy about that. One thing I kind of hoped for and did not happen is the autofocus spread, which on Fuji X-T2, X Pro 2, X-T20 is a 40% of the frame, 40% of the matrix. I'm talking about phase detection points. It's a square. And at this point, if you compare it to the other manufacturers, this is the smallest possible spread of phase detection points. Olympus has a larger box of phase detection points. Sony definitely has a larger box. With the A9, it's 90-some% of the frame. With A7R3, it's 60-some% of the frame. It is considerably larger. Having a larger autofocus phase detection frame box helps when you track objects, and when when the objects are large and then they go from one portion of this display to another. It's nice to have a larger spread of phase detection points. Fuji did not increase it. It appears from the specs, stayed with the same 40% spread. So in order for you to track, you will have to keep the action within that 40% spread of points. And I assume that's true with respect to both photographs and video. Now the video appears to be better on this camera. 200 megabytes, it's terrific. It does not say in the specs that we have a full frame 4K, so I assume it's still going to be a crop. I don't know if it's going to be the same crop as an X-T2. I wish it would be a full sensor like on X-T20, but the specs don't say anything about that, so I will assume that it is crop. The video is going to be terrific. I'm pretty sure about that. The camera is fully weatherproof, and it appears to be somewhat scratch-proof. It's going to be one terrific camera, with an exception of a couple of small points, like I said, the battery, the autofocus spread, and maybe the crop factor on video. It's going to be a dream camera, which I would love to get my hands on to try and to compare to my other cameras. So I'm very excited about this announcement. Let's see what we get with it. Now the picture quality, it appears it's going to be exactly the same as with previous X-Trans 3 cameras, X Pro 2, X-T2, X-T20, the same. But that's not bad because that picture quality was brilliant. Great job Fuji on making this camera, and I can't wait to get one in my hands to try it. Thank you very much for watching, and please subscribe to my channel.